some other things you guys can do to build your business. For people who are on Zoom, feel free to type any questions you have in the chat bar, and then we'll take breaks and go over all your questions. Don't worry, we won't forget about you. And then same with people in the class, we'll take a break every here and there and go over any questions. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Bobbie, and I'll hand things off to you.
Yay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Woo.
So for me today, this is really stepping out of my comfort zone because I've never spoke publicly. I'm a girl who loves to gab, but speaking in front of a group has never been something I've done before. So bear with me. I do happen to talk very fast. So if I start to talk too fast, feel free to do this and it'll remind me to slow down. I have practiced this a few times to help my speech pace, but again, I get excited and I go kind of fast. I like to start with my story, my real estate story. I went to school for oral surgery anesthesia assisting. That was my career, the path I was supposed to be doing. And I loved it. And when I was staying at home with two small children, because it's too expensive to have children in childcare, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And I'm a busybody kind of person, and I kept watching HGTV and Flippy's house shows. And I kept biting at my husband or freaking at my husband, like, we should try this, we should try this. And eventually we went to go look at our very first house. I called a post in the yard. Mind you, it's only a $42,000 trailer, so I know it's not a big listing. But I called the sign in the yard, made an appointment. My husband came home from work. We get two small kids in car seats there. We waited in the driveway for 45 minutes and they didn't show up. This is before we had cell phones. So we went back home, dialed up the number. The next day, somebody went out there and met us and we bought that house. Then we were talking to our friends about our story and they're like, oh, you need this realtor. Rod is the best. So now we have Rod as our agent representing us on the sale of that first house. And he's going to help us buy our next flip. And lo and behold, we come in from the very last day of working on a first flip and we're very, very tired. We just walk in the door and we get a phone call from escrow and they're saying, if you don't come sign the documents in the next 24 hours, the bank is going to put the house back on the market. We're like, what? So we're trying to get a hold of our realtor. He's not answering the phone. We go get our cashier's check, go sign that document. So we still have the house, but I come home to find out that, oh, Rod was on vacation for 3 weeks. He just didn't tell us. So I was so tired of being in the dark and not knowing what was gone. I sat down at that time, my AOL computer, how to become a real estate agent. And that was how my real estate career started. At first, we were only working and doing this for ourselves. And over time, we would start talking to other builders in the neighborhood or people who were doing the same things as we were, and they would hire me to list their house or to help them find a new piece of property. And then from that would turn into a lead and turn into a lead. And I was getting relatively busy for a new person who knew nothing really about real estate. During this time, I met Keane at a class. He was teaching a mortgage class, which is really important. Really quick, not to scroll too much, but it's important for you to understand the different formalities of different types of loans. I think my first class with you was actually a VA class, and we were learning the different implements about a VA loan. And what I mean by that is when you're showing your client houses, it's important to know what a VA loan will actually approve. Like maybe if a railing's too high or too low, or the roof, how old can a roof be? But when you walk up to a home and you have this knowledge from going to classes, you will be a more valuable tool to your clients. So when I met Keane, he helped me build my career by being more accountable and having more tools in place. And it's been beautiful. Thank you, Keane.
Yes.
And we'll share some of that with you guys today. So that's my story. That's how I came to place. I did go back into oral surgery in 2005 against the better judgment of Keane. He was telling me, keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to survive this market. And at that time, I had it so stuck in my head. I went to college for this and I paid a lot of money for the certificate that I'm keeping active, and I feel like I'm really important over here. And at that same time, I had 5 contracts under contract with Helix and Team. I'm not sure if anyone knows who they are, but all 5 of them crumbled. And all 5 people who had caught those houses for 5 to 7 months, they were, in the waiting line, and they were like picking out carpet, picking paint colors, and one by one, I kept breaking hearts. It wasn't necessarily to me, losing the commission, that wasn't as big of a deal as ruining family dreams. Like that was a part that crushed me. And so then I decided I'm going to go back into work in oral surgery. And it was wonderful. I do like working in oral surgery, but the real estate kept going for me. And eventually my husband was like, you have to pick a career. There's not time for you to be doing both. And so then we decided I was going to try real estate. And that was almost 6 years ago. And I have been a top producer since then, but it's with the help of the systems that I've learned from Keane. So moving forward, becoming a top producer, that was just my intro. So now we're gonna go into actually what it takes to be a top producer. Being a top producer, you have to have hustle. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be disciplined, align yourself with great business partners, such as Keane over here, title departments, lenders, painters, handymen, inspectors, and learn from each other. And don't be afraid to ask for referrals from your business partners. When I would say out of 10 listing appointments I go to, out of 10, at least 4 are asking me about painters, at least 5 are asking me for a handyman. And when you align yourself with a great business partner, it means that you're asking them to help you look good. Like, I'm going to refer you to someone, but you're going to show up on time and you're going to do a really great job, and I'll keep referring to you. But if you do a bad job or leave my client hanging, that's a #1 pet peeve to me, because remember, that's how I started my career. Don't leave them hanging. Like, great communication, do a great job, I'll keep referring to you. And I can guarantee you, if you do that, I'm gonna do the same when you refer someone to me. I'm gonna make you look really good and take really great care of your client. But do find handyman. Is a great way to find a great handyman is if you're using someone personally at your home and they do a great job, let them know, like, hey, I refer a lot of people in a year. So, what do you think we partner up together? And if you come across someone who's wanting to sell a home, you refer to me. And then monthly, stay in touch with that person. So say you don't have any listings yet, or you don't have any need for them yet, but still touch base with them and let them know that you're still there, because they can be a great referral source for you. So am I talking speed okay?
Yeah, I think you're doing okay. Is the PowerPoint?
Yeah, would you like to change slide?
Oh, not yet. I still have more on this one.
Okay.
Okay, so then also, this is super important to me, is be honest, be ethical, and treat people how you want to be treated. If something in your gut doesn't feel right, of something you're gonna be telling somebody, don't say that. Like, just be an honest, stand up, good person, and it really will go a long way. You might have some transactions that fall apart, and it wasn't in your best interest, it wasn't in their best interest to move forward, but you or other realtors might try to push something through. And I really do feel that if something's meant to be, it will happen. Maybe that one transaction fell apart, but you'll have another one on the other side. And a good example of this is, I had someone call me one time, like maybe 3 years ago, and they were frantic. They're like, we have this piece of property we're trying to buy over in Eastern Washington, but I've called 7 other realtors. I cannot get anyone to write it up. I'm like, oh, well, give me the MLS number. Well, I looked it up, and the property was only $7,000 in this little community. I wrote it up. It ended up costing me like $200 to actually get it closed after I paid the fee to the office and your taxes. But that same person came back and ended up selling 2 other properties through me. So just by doing my due diligence and helping them out, it ended up coming back to me. And I wasn't saying to them, well, I'm not going to do this addendum right away because so are the people in front of you I'm going to get paid more from. I just treated them like any other client, and they turned out to be more. So just treat people how you want to be treated. And if you hear someone, especially who's desperate, like you'll get some desperate phone calls at some point in your career, and just slow down and listen to them and just be a good human, do the right thing. Now to go to the next one. Yeah.
I can try and get it.
Okay, be an expert in your field. This is so important. At the last training, they were talking about doing open houses. Yes, that's great. Do open houses. But I would like to push it a little bit further. Before you go to an open house, or if you're asking an agent if you can do an open house, first ask them, hey, what's important to your seller? Like, what highlights about this house do they want buyers to know about? Go there and this one actually had a great view of whatever, or this one had a really great mudroom. But you might perk their interest and you might even be able to get a listing or a showing appointment off of that. So just being knowledgeable about the other houses they may drive by or look at on the way to that one open house. That's a way for you to start a conversation. People always want to know, at the open house, what do we say? Well, you be an expert in the area and you talk about the competition, and you might get someone who is willing to go look at a house with you after you get done with your open house. Or they may be more interested in the house that you're at, because you might say like, oh, that other house, like it has the worst third bedroom. It's so tiny, it's like a closet. And I'm like, oh, thanks for letting me know. It's really important we have 3 real bedrooms. So by going and viewing those other homes, it'll be able to make you be more of a local expert. And then bringing value to your CMA, the same thing. If I'm getting ready to do a listing appointment, especially if it's in my little hub, I will try to go physically go look at the competition. Again, just when I go to them, they'll say like, oh no, my house is really worth this. Zillow says it's worth this. And I'll be like, yeah, but your house doesn't have all these other things that these other houses I went to or do have. And so you can just sound more educated. And on the verse side too, they may think that their house is worth less. And you can be like, I've looked at all the competition. Every house smells like dog, it's old. You've done all these wonderful things. I think we should list your house at this. And then also, if you are confused about the market, say you're getting a listing, it's your first listing, you're so excited. Talk to a seasoned realtor. Like you could call me and say, hey, I have this listing. I'm thinking about listing it here. What are your thoughts? Or even verse a script with a seasoned agent. So you go in feeling more relaxed and more educated. And I really would be open to that. People had questions with me or for me. Oh, new construction. Know what new construction is offering. Especially right now when interest rates have been so high, I try to go tour any new construction in my area. And I let them know who I am. I'm just there finding out what you guys have to offer. They'll want to share it with you because they'll think you'll want to bring buyers to them, which you might. But it's a great resource too when you're doing a listing. If everyone is offering a lot of money for say a buy down, or say they're offering, really big incentives, such as like upgrades or whatnot. You may talk to your sellers about that, like, in your price range, we're competing against this. This is what they're offering, and this is how I think we can be competitive. But also just knowing that inside knowledge, that's not on the World Wide Web. That's information they keep in-house. So you need to go to the houses and tour them and get the information, but it's just going to make you more of a wealth of information. Have people pre-approved and before you go start showing them houses. Yes, if you have a qualified buyer and you feel like they're pretty well qualified, you can go show them a few homes just to start building that relationship. But there's an agent actually that my assistant was working for a while as a TC, trying just to make some supplement income. And I was embarrassed by how that other agent was working. And her goal was to just write as many offers as she can and get them submitted. We'll worry about the pre-approval later. So how is that agent being a professional? And how is that agent doing a service to any of her clients? Like if you just get someone to write up an offer, then they find out that they're going to be deflated because they're not actually qualified. You're not doing anyone any favors. You're doing the reverse. You're being a crummy person. So I really advise you to not just write offers or write them. It's our job as professionals to write offers, to close them. And when I say to close them, you're aligning yourself with a great title company that will take care of the transaction. You're aligning yourself with a great lender that is going to take really good care of your client, not get them in a loan that's not going to close. And then you're going to be present throughout the process and actually get the transaction closed. So there's no money. You don't get paid to just write a contract. You get paid to close it. So really do make sure that your person is qualified for what you're showing them. Okay, I have one more story for this section, sorry. This, when I was very first new in my career, I was showing this 80-year-old woman. She's like 76, but I was showing her houses in downtown Ording, and she fell in love with this 2-story house. And we were sitting on the stairs, new construction, but we're sitting on the stairs looking out the door, and across the street, there's flags for open houses for some ramblers. And I'm like, hey, Peggy, maybe you should go check out those ramblers over there. And she's like, why do you think I want to look at a rambler? Like, she started falling in love with the house we're in. I'm like, well, because you're a little older, you never know. And she said, Bobbie Jo, you need to learn to listen to what your clients want and not what you think they need. Duly noted. So over the years, I carry that with me. So I'm trying to be a better listener. I'm trying to really listen to what my clients need. And I'm not guiding them as much as I was with Peggy. And over the years, Peggy and I stayed in contact through my greatness tracker. And anyhow, about 4 or 5 years ago, her daughter called and said that mom is slipping and she wants to say goodbye to you. So I go to her house and she's in a hospice bed in her dining room. And I'm sitting there holding her hand, talking with Miss Peggy. And she looks over her staircase and she said, do you remember that conversation we had on that staircase? I go, yes, Peggy, that really, really formed me as a real estate agent, it really helped me. And she does this little snarkle and she said, well, you were right. If I would have bought that Rambler, I'd be dying in my bedroom, not my dining room. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? But she did love that house. So, I mean, she didn't make the wrong decision, but I thought it was cool that she helped form me. And moving forward, next slide. All right, show up to work. This one is a funny one because we're self-employed, but there's no employment part if we don't actually get out of bed or get off our phones and start doing something. So we really have to get some type of system to be disciplined. And for anyone who is anyone in this room new, like maybe a year or less in real estate? Okay, well, online, if you are new, I would suggest that you find a niche that you enjoy. And when I say a niche, you're obviously in real estate because you like houses, but is it new construction? Is it flips? Is it first-time home buyers? Is it homes with acreage? Is it homes that you can have cows? And whatever your niche is, what excites you about real estate, I would advise you to start doing social media posts about that niche. So for myself, I really love downtown Sumner. I love working with first-time home buyers. So I started doing videos about what's happening in downtown Sumner, and I try to do videos weekly about inventory in downtown Sumner. If your niche is new construction, you could start going to any new construction. You can go there, monthly to the same site and show the new house that's being completed or how they're being completed and just do little videos. The new construction would love you to advertise them, but also eventually you're going to become the expert in that. And if you're new, you're going to need to have a niche so people will know what they're referring you for. So if it's new construction, if someone's looking at or has a friend, say someone's at a coffee shop talking to their girlfriend, like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about buying new construction. Oh my gosh, you need to check out this person on social media. They're always at all the new construction in that area. Then boom, you might get a referral from that. So, but in the beginning, just really pick a niche. I've been doing this long enough. I have expanded myself like from Sumner to Enumclaw. I'm trying to make myself be the specialist in that big area. It is consuming. So I have to every Wednesday and Thursday, I'm out trying to plan to do videos. And then I'm making new contacts with business owners within those areas. And then I'm trying to do videos within the shops like, hey, welcome to whatever Simple Elements. This is a great story. Here you can find blah, 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 blah. They have these types of events. This is why it's really cool to live in this town. And then I can't tell you how many times I've been out and about and people have been like, oh, I love your videos. I'm like, oh, thank you. And my husband will ask me, who is that? No idea. So there are also areas to build on your social media. So I learned I'm not a technical person at all, but I learned mostly from my title companies. So when your title companies invite you to classes, I recommend you to go to the classes in person. And that's how I learned how to build my Facebook market page. That's how I learned how to enhance my Google page. I have done very well with my Google page. So I would encourage everybody to get on the Google business page and to go to a class and then follow the steps. I'm a monkey see, monkey do kind of person. I don't invent anything. I just wing it and just go for it. So, but when I first came back to real estate full time, I went to a class with my, it was First American Title, and I had a meeting. I'm like, hey, I'm going full time now. Do you have any ideas to help me with my marketing, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time she has this young gal on her phone, just speaking on her phone the whole time while we're talking. And at the end of it, she's like, Bobbie Joe, you're not on social media. I don't see you anywhere. And millennials really like videos, and I can't even find you. And so I was like, oh, thank you. And I get in my car, I'm like, who is she? Like, well, then I get home and lo and behold, there's another title company offering a free class on how to build a Facebook page. So I went to that class, and then that class, they talked about the videos. So I went home, or on my drive home, I'm like, the Sumner train station, that's a really cool thing, and it takes people up north, and I can talk about how Sumner is not that far from Seattle for commuting. And so after about what felt like 95 tries of standing out in the cold, shivering, trying to talk about a video and about the train, I finally got one I thought was okay, and I posted it. And that was my very, very first video, but it had like 400 likes, and people actually watched like the follow throughs. So I'm like, okay, I guess she's on to something. I probably should keep doing that. So as uncomfortable as it is, I keep doing videos. But if you are someone and you're like, I hate videos, I cannot ever do that. Well, then find things on social media to post. Like that Canva is a great site to get ideas, and but find your niche first, and then find things that fit that niche and just post them, or you can talk about them. But eventually I really would encourage you to do a video. And then for myself, for working, this is part of my systems too, but I have this greatness tracker that I use every week. We'll go into it more in detail in a little bit, but I brought one for everyone to take home. And then we can supply it for people who are online. Also, if I have someone who's getting ready to list their house, I went into that Canva and I printed this up. But the first few box is steps for listing your home. And it says research the housing market. So last night I was a listing appointment. Like, well, the first box I did for you because here is a CMA that I printed out. And then the next one says hire an experienced real estate agent. I'm like, hopefully that's me because I'm the best in the area. Next, it says source of a pre-sale inspection. Mike, if your home is new enough, I don't think it's really necessary. But these are the reasons why I recommend that. And then I tell them why I recommend that. And then gather preliminary title report. I'm like, I got you. When you hire me, I'm gonna totally take care of that category for you. And then settle on an asking price. Last night I said, if you guys look at their house, and it was lots of stuff all over their house. So I'm like, I'm not sure we're gonna be ready in the next few months. So if we're not, we might have to renegotiate this price because I have no idea what the market's doing right now. But if you're listening today, I would recommend this price. But in 2 months, that could change. I mean, it can go up or it could go down. And then develop a home selling strategy. You don't have to do that because my awesome team does all the online marketing for you. We'll have open houses. We're going to represent you in the best light. And then it just goes through and gives them a cleaning list. And sometimes people need this cleaning list more than other people. I mean, right? Like some people would never even think to look up at their fans or the light bulbs. So this came in very handy. And then I have a move out list for someone who's moving out. I will give this to them just like, hey, here's a little checklist. You don't have to do all of these things, but a buyer really would appreciate to have most of these things done. And then if their house is really gross, in some scenarios it is, I just hire a house cleaner and I just have it be part of my package that I'm offering to them, but not everyone needs that. Also, I don't know if you guys are aware of Redfin. Has anyone in this room ever worked for Redfin? Okay. Well, I was showing up for on the weekend, I'm going around and I'm filling my flyers at houses, and there was someone looking at this farmhouse I have. So I just walked up to ask them, hey, do you guys have any questions? I'm just here to fill the flyers up. And the people had a list of questions. I mean, the questions were every single question that was on the MLS, they were asking, does it have gas? What is electricity? How old is the house? Just questions that the other agent should have answered. Redfin, I'm sorry. But I learned that day that Redfin, the person who opened the door, is like a Uber Eats. They don't talk to them at all. They are there to open the door and let the people see the home, and then they shut it. So when the people were going around to look at the rest of the property, I just asked the Redfin agent, hey, what's going on? Is your Wi-Fi not working? Can you not access my information? And then he's like, oh no, I'm not allowed to talk to them. I'm like, well, what service are you giving someone if you're opening a house, you're not allowed to talk to them? Like, and half of the questions they have right now, they won't remember later to give you a list to ask the person. It just seemed ridiculous. So from then on, whenever I do a listing, I print out all these little sheets, and it's as if I were going through your home with them. So I just have a listings coming up next week, and this is the pile, and it's keypad entry. Yeah, okay. Ring security system, upgraded ceiling fans, Mount Rainier view, generator adapter wired, so it's ready for the connection. projector and screen staying. This is as people are walking through the house, any questions they may have is on the wall. Sometimes my clients are annoyed by these, so I started laminating them, so if they want to take them off, and then we can just put them back on before showing. A laminator on Amazon was like $12, not super expensive. But it's just a way for me to secure that the information they want people to know about their home, people will know. So that's another way to make yourself more valuable. All right. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. So for myself, I after each transaction, I print out the end of the year or the final closing statement. And then I have a nice tax letter. I have a copy of it in this pink binder, but a nice tax letter. They're actually going to go in the mail today. And it's just as a service to you, you may have lost your final closing statement. And I wanted to make sure you had a copy of it because your tax professional will want this piece of paper. And this is just an added value you have as having me as your agent. And at the end of it, I say, oh, and also if you know anyone who's looking for any real estate needs, don't forget me, ding. But also that gives me on here, I have to make 60 phone calls a week. And what really sucks is it doesn't count for my 60 phone calls all up here. They don't count if someone doesn't answer the phone. So then I have to call them back or give them a reason to call me back. But now that I have all of my closing disclosures for the year, I'm going to be able to have these a reason for a phone call. So I'm not just calling like, hey, what's going on? Now I'm calling saying, hey, how are you enjoying your home? Or how did the move go? By the way, check your mail. I'm sending you a piece of paper that your tax accountant's going to need. Then you can ask them any other questions or get some updates on where they're at in life. It's just a good way to contact a person with a purpose. Okay, yeah. Okay, connect with people. We are only as powerful as our sphere of influence, and it's super, super important for you, especially if you're new, to go to as many social gatherings as you can. I shouldn't say hate, but I do not care to cook at all. But I feel like I'm invited to maybe 4 Pampered Chef parties a year. And I try to go to every single one of them because they're a sphere of influence that I wouldn't be introduced to. And when I go to these events and meet new people, it's important to ask people questions, not be like, I'm a real estate agent, I'm a real estate agent. You want to be like, hey, Karen, so are you new to the area? Where do you live? And then you want to be, where do you work? I mean, how many kids do you have? Just be genuinely and tuned to somebody. And they're going to reverse it and they're start asking you questions. And that's where it comes out that you're a real estate agent in the area. I love, serving people, helping first-time home buyers, whatever your spill is, but that's where you deliver. Don't just go in there and bombarding that you're a real estate agent. Also social, in your community. I volunteer a lot at downtown Sumner, but wherever your area is at, like I volunteer for car shows. I happen to love the car show, but also it's fun to volunteer there. And then, there's also community cleanup days. You can be a part of those. If you guys have anyone who is in school or have school age kids, that is a huge volume of people that you can meet by volunteering and hanging out with your kids, but also being exposed to a lot of new people. I was always heavily involved in the PTA, the carnivals, volunteering in the classroom. But each classroom has at least 24 to 25 kids in it or more. And then if you go to any function that involves all those classrooms together, it's a win-win. When my children were playing football, we volunteered at almost every team dinner. We volunteered for wherever we could. And 1, because it was fun, and 2, because it was a way to meet and be around more people. I was fortunate enough to have both of our boys go on to play college football. And so I personally do a football magnet every year. I'm not a football fan like Keane over here, but I love football because my boys played it. And so every year I send out a football magnet schedule for the Seahawks in our local colleges. People love it. So I'm consistent on doing it every year, but every year my goal is to increase the number of people I'm going to send it to by at least 100. I mean, and now it's getting expensive, but I do think that it's worth it. And then make sure I didn't forgetting something. Oh, when you're meeting new people, this is one thing. If you guys do use my tracker on here, it's a great way to keep track of who you had met. A lot of times if I go to a social event, I'll start writing on the back of it. So I have people's information. Because someone may say like, oh my gosh, my mom's thinking about selling her house, da, da, da. Well, then I make sure that I'm gonna follow up with that person on the back here. It's a way to keep track of it. Now we're ready for the next one. Okay, the systems and structured. So that's part for me, my greatness tracker, right? And that's part of my schedule of going and doing the videos. That's just what I've been doing. Social media has been very, has been a great resource for me to build my brand and for people to recognize me. I've had 2 listings from people I never met before, but they're like, oh my gosh, I see your videos on Downtown Summer. You seem to be so positive. We just really like your energy. Can you come over and do a listing appointment? And I'm like, of course. And that was just from doing my videos. In one video, one time I stopped and it was just a beautiful like pond. I guess Pop Lake was like a pond lake. I was on my way home from somewhere else. I'm like, this is such a beautiful day. I want to stop and just talk about this lake. And so I stopped there. I found there's a cabin for sale across the lake for $425. So I just talked about it really quick out there. Well, the next day I get a phone call from a cute lady, and she's like asking me about the cabin. And she's saying, well, I think I would need to sell my house first. So could you come and talk to us about selling our house? Yeah, of course I could. Well, they turned out to be some of my favorite clients. Because when we went to their house, they're telling me a little bit about their story. Their daughter's renting currently. She's looking for a new place to rent. And as we keep walking around, I'm learning they have a lot of equity in their house. And they're looking for just to buy something on the beach or something, a little getaway house for them. Well, then I suggested them like, what if you do a home equity line of credit and maybe keep this house, you can rent it to your daughter and use that equity to buy your next house. And at first they were like, oh, Bobbie Joe, no, that's not, we couldn't do that. Like, well, before we get any further, why don't you just reach out to your lender and just ask them? And so lo and behold, they did. And when he called me back, he was this tickled pink. He's like, I would never believe it, but not only did they pre-approve us, but it was for a lot more money than I was expecting. So then we went out shopping for a house and they ended up buying a home in Ocean Shores. I don't normally go all the way to Ocean Shores, but for the right people, I do. I do like to say that I take care of people, not houses. Some agents are like, they're only a certain category of a person for sales, like they're only luxury properties or they're only mobile homes, whatever it is. I like to say that I take care of people, not the homes. And that's why I ended up out in Ocean Shores. But those same people, though, a year later call back and were saying, Boy, Joe, now our son needs a place. And, Miss Debbie's is tired of commuting so far to the doctor's offices and stuff. We're thinking about maybe moving to Hope William. What do you think about us doing home Atlantic credit here and buying another house? Do you think it's even possible? So I'm like, well, let me look at numbers. The market's been going up quite a bit. And I'm like, well, I think that the numbers support it. There should be enough equity in your home to do it. But I would reach out to your lender and to see if what they say. Well, lo and behold, next year or that year, these same people were buying a second home through me in Hope William, Washington. And so it's cute. They always say that I'm their family real estate agent forever, and they became friends quickly. But the part about it is just being an expert. But going into that listing appointment the first time when I was saying have their best interest at heart over your own. If I would have just walked in there and just listed their house and sold them at their house, that would have been 2 sales for me, right? So I would have been better off. But I would have been helping them build equity or helping them on their best path. So a lot of it is just listening, really, really listening to what your buyers or sellers need and put that above your own needs. And your business will grow. And with the systems and protocols, again, I'll share my sheet with you. If you don't want to do this sheet, just be consistent at something and really find something and then build on it. So if it's social media, for myself, I'm really good at Facebook. Right now I'm trying to branch out and be good at Instagram or TikTok. But before I can build onto it, I have to be consistently good at that one thing. If you guys don't like social media, be really good about sending out a weekly newsletter. Be really good about sending out emails. But just find something to be consistent at and then build on that one thing. Okay. Yep. Okay, they have great mentors. I was fortunate enough to be aligned with Keane. He brought me into his coaching program. He has a coaching and accountability program through the core. And I'm part of a bi-weekly accountability group that has been tremendous for me. If you can't afford to join a mentorship, we have phenomenal real estate agents here within Skyline Properties, and we have phenomenal brokers. I would encourage you, if you're trying to get your career to the next level, start making a weekly or bi-weekly meeting with somebody. Also, if it's a realtor who's in-house, or perhaps it's a realtor that is for another company, but someone you feel like who's killing it, reach out to them and say, hey, when you're doing your next open house, can I come join you? Can I come be with you? And by doing that, you're just going to be able to hear how they're interacting with clients, and you might learn ways to interact yourself or things you can tie into your spiel to make you be more valuable. Also, if you align yourself with another realtor and or our brokers, making yourself be more accountable, like, yeah, these are the goals I want to do. But you need to have someone holding you accountable to make sure that you're following through and doing those things. So I would encourage you to reach out to someone, doesn't matter who, but just reach out to someone. And if you have the funds, you can join a mentor group. There's lots of great ones out there. Or again, like find someone within our family of Skyline people. Okay. Next. They implement quickly. So this is what I'm talking about from either of these classes we've had. If there's something that you've liked or an idea that you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I can do that. We'll start doing it. Not today, but start doing it, not today, not tomorrow, but today. You have to start implementing and doing things quickly. Also, we are in an environment where the real estate world is changing very, very quickly. I try to go to classes myself. Just last Tuesday, I went to a class about the new rental laws in Tacoma. Is anyone here aware of those? Okay, I would not be advertising to my clients at all to buy any investment properties that they're planning on renting in Tacoma. At the class, I learned that if you are a landlord and you plan on raising your rent by 5% or more, you have to inform the renter 6 months beforehand. And then if they cannot afford the new rent, they can just say, I can't afford it. Then you have to pay them 3 months rent before they move out to help them relocate. Yes.
Only they have students.
Yes, or if you have students, if you have any child or student in school, you cannot vacate during the school year. You also cannot vacate during winter. So this takes us to maybe 3 months a year, 3 months out of the year that you actually can vacate someone who's not paying proper rent. So these rules are huge. And the class that I went to said that these rules are going to start spreading out from Tacoma. People are going to start implementing them. But there are things like this you need to understand and absorb so you can help educate your buyers. And just because that's my feeling, just because I wouldn't own a home in Tacoma, that I wanted to rent monthly or rent on a year basis, doesn't mean they may not want to, but you want to be able to give them as much information as you can, because that makes you valuable, right? And just the same thing as when you're walking around properties, if you're with a VA or a FHA buyer, understanding what the appraisers will call out. So for instance, I recently had a house that had this really funky loft, has a little staircase going up, this open loft, and the seller was trying to consider that to be extra square footage. But I'm like, there's no way that a VA or a FHA lender, there's no rails, it's not safe. I'm like, why don't we just board that up, and then the new buyer can choose to take the boards down, but we're not going to be called out and have to change the approach or the egress of it. And it's just knowing those types of things that will help you on both sides, buyer sides and seller side. And some of it is just trial and error, but that's where I'm saying align yourself with a mentor, and you'll learn these things from other people. Like I would have no problem with someone going around on a day and doing showings with me, and I could teach you these things. And also the open house idea, if you align yourself with someone great and go to their open house, if the open house is dead, perfect. It's a great time to pick that person's brain and then learn from them. So moving on. Follow up their leads. I am a queen of, I have like little pieces of paper all the time, receipts, and I'll take a phone call and write it down on something. And then when I get home to follow up, I can't find it. Has anyone here ever done that? Yes. So we look like horrible, non-productive people by doing that. Like we're horrible. For myself, I am not very technology driven, so the phone does not work for me, but I carry around all the time. I have a big purse now that fits into it. This is my tracker, so I can keep writing on it. And then this is my, every phone call I take while I'm driving, or I pull over, take a phone call. That way it's all in one place. So I very rarely now will leave without this, because it's just a way for me to keep myself in check. And I try to visibly think, I'm trying to go for a little piece of paper at some point. I'm visually in my head thinking of a shot collar, like, don't do that, because I've lost clients from not following up. So to me, this is a great way to do it. At the end of the night too, I'll transfer people from my notepad to my greatness tracker, just so I can keep track of them. And these are things that I've learned from Keane on the accountability. I don't know, do you guys have other ways that you guys keep track of your leads?
Mhm.
What do you use that works for you?
CRM.
CRM?
Mhm.
And are you doing that automatically from your phone?
I do it on my computer. I have a phone connected to my computer. I can send text to many people that I want. And I also is connected to my app here in my phone. But I am like you, all style. I like my husband.
A piece of paper?
My husband just gave me this in Christmas. I hate it.
You hate it?
It's very, I prefer my notebook because I know where exactly I put
Yes.
it. In this one, I started to do, I'm answering your question, CRM, phone, wherever I can
Mhm.
to follow up.
Yes.
I was a bad, how you say in English, follower?
Follow up?
I did bad follow
Through.
up the people,
Oh.
my clients.
Mhm.
But I started to do it a year and a half ago, and boom, is very good system to do that. Just by phone, calling, text, whatever. But don't buy this thing. It's awful.
She's holding up an automatic notepad, looks like an iPad, but it has,
How you look all my things here. So I classified them. I had to give you a class. So
okay, okay,
this is awful.
okay.
Do it.
So the
Continue.
point is though, whatever works for you, just do follow through, because how can you be professional if you're not following through and put yourself in the other's shoes? If you're calling someone asking about like, hey, is this house on Fifth Street still available? You know, I'll get back to you in just a little bit, I'll look it up. And you don't get back to them. How would you feel if you're in other shoes? It would feel pretty crummy, and you would visualize that person as being a pretty crummy agent. So I wouldn't want to work with that person. So just follow through, be the best that you can be. Oh, this is the last one. I think this is it.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing I have for you guys though, is that there is enough work out there for us all. We all in this room can be top producers. There's no doubt about it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And a lot of it is just consistency, following through. And I would encourage us all to work together. And I say there's enough business for all of us, like nothing needs to be cutthroat. There really is a lot for us to learn and grow from one another. I really do mean that. And I'm open to different ideas, and I want to grow. And if other realtors are calling you, answer your phone. I don't know how many times people are like, oh my gosh, thanks for answering your phone, Bobbie Joe. And they'll ask you something like, well, yeah, that's my job, right? It's my job to answer the phone. My phone goes with me on vacation. I do try to cut it off, for certain hours. Like I wake up and work right away, and the rest of the day is for family. But this is my career, and I'm building it, and I want to be in charge of it. So just follow through, work together, and learn from each other. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for you.
Oh, yes.
I have a lot of problems with time management. How do you manage your time?
And that is a beautiful question that I'm still trying to help myself with, but for myself, I hired a full-time assistant last year, and then having her and delegating more of the paperwork part, it freed up for me. Let me just rewind just a tiny bit. Last year, through my coaching program, we had to fill out this will, and you rate yourself on a will, like for family, work, time management. And my family side was very flat. Like I was doing all work and not taking care of my family. And so when I hired a full-time assistant, now when I come home from showings or from a listing appointment, she's taking care of the paperwork part at home. So when I get home, I'm not like, hi, everybody, and I go downstairs and finish all my stuff. So now I can come home and rest because my assistant's taking care of that part. So my answer is hiring a full-time assistant has made a huge difference for me. Yes, I made less money this year because I was paying quite a bit for her, but my quality of life is way better, way better. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night with a palpitating heart anymore. Like thinking like, oh shoot, I forgot to do this one thing, or it's way better. So having support is the best. For me, having this tracker and having my accountability is also great. So for my time management, I wake up first thing in the morning, I feed my dogs, I go down and I try to get on my bike and do some exercise. I shower, I try to get dressed professionally because I never know if my day is gonna change in a whim. So now I'm ready for my day to change in a whim. And I try to take care of anything that is clerical. Then I start doing my phone calls because I know and every day I have to make so many phone calls. And then sometimes these phone calls lead into leads. So then I'm doing a CMA check. And then I try to have myself out in public by 1 o'clock. So between 1 and 3, I'm in public. And then sometimes I have it scheduled, but I'm going to some type of party, right? I'm going to some function where I'm gonna be trying to meet new people. But by doing it this way, and then by 4 o'clock, 4:30, I try to be done unless I'm doing showings. I started delegating Thursday nights to date night. I try really hard not to break my date night. I have a wonderful marriage, but just like this job, marriage takes work, right? So if I'm not ever giving my spouse attention, we're gonna become disconnected. So anyhow, is you have to find what works best for you. I try my calendar to block out time only for phone calls. But most of my phone calls, it works for me. I do them while driving. So I'll make a list on a piece of paper like this. And I'll check phone calls of people who I want to call that day. But anything contractual. So if anyone's in contract for myself, they're getting called on Monday for buyers or sellers. And then that's some of my phone calls. And then on Tuesday, I'm trying to work on going for my videos. So I'm trying to call around to do videos with people and or planning where I'm gonna go do a video at. On Wednesdays, I'm trying to, before I leave my desk, I'm trying to figure out what I want to have on my newsletter for that month or for the next coming week, like what local activities are going on I want to have displayed. And then like between 4 and 7 is pretty much wing it because that's where the window gets filled with listing appointments or showing is how I do it. But I went, when I got my assistant, I went from being available at any time, like I was loosey-goosey available for anything. Now I try to have it more structured time slots where I can actually do certain things. And the more that you're doing phone calls, you'll start filling your calendar more where you are gonna be more structured. Because by doing these phone calls, you're saying like, hey, like, and Keane told me this too, like, I should be connecting him with people. So I should be saying, hey, I have this great lender. And I think that you guys would work great together, you know, if for say it's a lawyer or whatnot. And then trying to do a lunch in with the 3 of them. But if once I book that appointment, then I can have that on my schedule where I know I may be going to a face-to-face soon, right? So I'm trying to book myself out by 2 weeks with the must-dos. And then I fill in the fluff with showings and listing appointments. But you also, to the people who are looking at you for services, when I actually say my schedule is pretty full, I feel like I'm more valuable to them. I used to feel like I was doing a disservice, but I'm like, oh, I would love to come see your home in Olympia. But it looks like my next opening day is on Thursday between or we could do Saturday. Well, then they're like, oh yeah, well, we can make Saturday work. But before I was like, oh, I can be there tomorrow. Yeah, 5 minutes. You know, I was just desperate. I was hungry. But I feel like the more structured I become, the more desirable I become as well.
Thank you.
Did that help at all? Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Bob and Joe. Great job.
Thank you.
I took some notes. In my listing presentations, I always bring a 1A. And I bring a lockbox and I clunk it down on the table. I feel like it's a very visual thing of like you're signing with me. I took a tip from my insurance agent. Can I call the other agents and cancel the appointment? For real, because like if they don't sign, they're gonna sign with, like, I'm gonna work them up to, and then they're gonna sign with the next guy or gal. Do you do the silent sellers at the listing presentation?
The silent sellers, I'm sorry.
You were talking about your
No.
silent sellers?
Me?
No, on the
The
table there?
silent talkers.
Oh.
The little.
Do I bring?
What a takeaway that I had is
Yes, I bring these, this is part of my listing packet, yes.
the listing, that's awesome. I don't do that. I use silent sellers. I'm gonna start putting them up when they give me the house tour.
Well, and part of that too is because we're silent sellers.
Anything to set yourself apart, like,
Yeah.
I always do a house tour, even though I don't want to, and I'm gonna start putting them up. And like, I researched their house before I
Mhm.
showed up, like no one else is gonna do that. That's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I do take them just to explain to people too, like I'll say, part of my speech too is like when Redfin has a showing, we don't know if this person coming to see the home is pre-qualified or where they're at in their buying process. But any showing is a good showing, even if they're not pre-approved, they might know someone who might be. So we don't want to say no to the showing, but I'm gonna put these up all over your house to make sure that they have all the information when they show up to see your house. So that's the reason I do it.
I love it is because what?
I ask them if they want to see the competition. You talked about that. Hey, check out the competition. But at the end of the presentation, I say, actually, it's like identical. Do you want to go see it? If we're having a conversation about value anyway. I might suggest to you, take a picture of your notes. If you don't have your phone auto
Yes.
back up everything, because my photos are automatically backed up, I'm organized with
That's a-
notes and whatnot, but take a picture of your notes and then everyone maybe who's ever heard me talk before knows I love scripts. I have a half sentence script. I love it. You can, I didn't invent it. The A in Zestimate stands for accuracy. I use that a lot and I just like dismiss it when someone, well, the Zestimate says my home's worth this much. And I just say, well, the A stands for accuracy. So, and then rarely do they want to come back to it, but that's what, good job. Thank you.
Thank you. That is really good. Does anyone online have any questions? Sorry.
Sorry, I was laughing is because, no, it's because I remember my client, I had one of those, how do you call that thing?
I call them silent seller.
Or point of sale
Yeah,
markers.
and
Yeah.
all the time, He came up with the, what do you use?
Oh, I like the blue tape. So
Blue tape.
the blue painter's tape works the best for me.
Okay,
Mhm.
he came and he made.
The green
holes.
one falls off. Mhm.
And I have a comment about those. We actually have templates for those, like Skyline branded ones on our Skyline backend.
Nice.
So we have commercial, residential, luxury, all different templates that you guys can utilize and
Where are they?
Skyline backend. So you have to log in through our website and then you go to, I think it's the flyer. Yeah, broker portal and then, we should have all of our templates on there. So
We should have more classes on that, back end teachings.
I teach it in my new broker orientation or my essentials class.
Well, I
So-
felt like I could use it because things have changed around. I did not.
Yeah,
follow.
yeah,
Mhm.
join me on my tools and technology class.
Was there any questions online?
Yes, so we have actually Karen as saying that she uses a reusable notebook called Rocketbook Fusion. I try to carry it with me all the time. You can send pages directly to email, iCloud, folders, etc.
Is that what you have as a rocket book?
Is yours a Rocketbook as well?
Remarkable.
Remarkable.
Is it Rocketbook?
Remarkable.
Remarkable, sorry, I was like.
I
Okay.
have a little accent, come
Okay.
No, and he kept on mentioning.
on. Okay. This is the name, remarkable.
Okay, all right, we got it, all right. I have some questions. I love the idea about implementing videos to my marketing. I do social media, Instagram, all that, but I've never got into doing videos. So what are some of like the tools? And obviously you have your own niche, anywhere to like get inspiration, any more advice with videos?
Absolutely. I feel like almost every tile company could give you like a social media calendar, they'll give you ideas of what to post every single day. I think Canva also has those. But since you're up here, you could like really target on this market, and also if you have a preferred lender or a preferred business partner, like maybe even doing a video with them, like even inspection, like what's the importance of doing a home inspection? You can ask your inspector, like, how long does it take you to do a home inspection? What are some crazy things you found in home inspection? Should a homeowner who's buying new construction do a home inspection? Why? And then it's taking the focus off of you until you get comfortable. You can start doing videos with other people and just have some questions to ask them. The shorter the video, the better. If you can have any video be 1 minute or less, it's gonna be great. So, but for you also, you could have it be like, I'm sure you get some pretty crazy stories here, being a designated broker. So you could share like, hey, this is something that, I feel like every real estate agent should know. And if you're speaking more to real estate agents, other people will see you as a resource, right? Because they're like, oh, wow, he knows all this stuff. So I would build on that.
I love it.
Mhm. Any other questions?
I have one more.
Okay.
No, your Monday conversation with your buyers and sellers. I like that. I like implementing that in my business. Is that just kind of checking in, giving them an update and making sure they're not panicking, or what, how does that conversation usually go?
For sure. First, I would like to just add one thing. When I'm doing my updates, sometimes there's a crisis, right? Like sometimes there's a problem. But before I call my client and say, oh my gosh, here's a problem we're having, I try to solve the problem first. So I call and say, hey, this arose, and this is how we're solving it, or these are our options on how to handle it. Like, what would you rather do? Because one is making you sound smarter, but also you're taking away the fear part for your clients. But most of it is saying, this Monday, I have a closing coming up in Seattle. So Mike says, hey, just want to call and give you your update. We were through the inspection. It came back at value, so we're moving forward. I'm planning on
Great.
going there, get my staging stuff out on Wednesday, and we're set for closing, next Tuesday, just a follow-up. Another one, we just had an offer, came in last night, so I'm calling them and saying, I might call them next Monday. We'll be talking about that offer. But also because I have all these mailers that I'm doing too, if they happen to close something that year, I'm talking about my mailer coming out. And then through the conversation too, for myself, because I'm trying to build my Google reviews, I'm like, hey, if you get a chance, I really would like you to leave me at Google review because I'm really trying to build my Google presence, and every review really counts. If you both can do it, even the better. Thank you so very much. And then at closing, I'm asking for a referral.
Scott's not here, so apparently I feel like it's my job to keep talking. I don't know. I'll leave you a Google review for your speech today.
Please
5
do.
stars.
And
I
I'll be-
wonder if anyone else would. Would you leave me one, please?
Yes, it's Bobbie Joe sells homes on Google. That's how you can find me.
What would you leave me one, please?
Yes,
Great, and then something.
I'll leave you one too. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
I thought you were saying Julie.
Yeah, would you leave me one, please?
Yes.
Something that I heard you say, and you said it throughout your talk. You opened with the help you've gotten.
Mhm.
You talked in the middle about joining a group, asking for help, and I heard you say, you're the art speaker. I heard you say you attended a training in the past week. I attended a training in the past week. I just wonder how many top producer speakers attend trainings all the time. One takeaway I had from the last training I attended was the real estate agent speaker said he breaks his day into 1,000-minute days. And every minute of his 1,000 minutes is planned. And I was like, I'm really organized. I showed everyone my calendar. But I don't plan it to the 1,000. That's, by the way, like 16 and a half hours. So then he sleeps the rest of the time. And I was like, wow, that's really, really detailed. So I wanted to share that, and I wanted to share that I just, because I find it's a very American thing to want to do things alone, which sounds awesome until you do. And then I find that it sucks. And I do everything with collaboration with someone
sure.
else, like everything, because it's so much better to win together is what I thought. But I heard you talk a lot like throughout about how you do it with other people, which I think is pretty cool in real life for me.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, it just magnifies the reason why it is important to build those business partners. And for myself, like the business partners that I have built, they have saved my butt and helped me tremendously through the process, and vice versa, I would help them as well. So it's just nice to build a resource of people that you trust and love, and it's like your work family. Yeah. Omar?
What's your top 2 or top 3 method of finding new clients?
Well, I have to say that social media and Google are probably my top. And Keane will make him cringe because I should be saying it's referral based. And that before I started implementing more on my Google, I was like 95% referral based. I was never paying, like up until this year, I never paid to belong to any referral feed system. It was all referral based. So by staying in contact with your clients, by doing client events, in the beginning, if you can't afford to do a client event, like throughout the year, I do a pontoon cruise. We do the pumpkin patch. We do several happy hour events. And but if you can't afford to do something that costs money, I could have a hiking event. Like tell people I'm going to show up at this place at this time, and we're going to go hiking, and that would give you a reason to call all those people. Maybe it is a photographer. Oh, that's you. Maybe it's like, if you're really into photography, like, hey, we're gonna go meet at this park and try to find birds to photographer or to photo shoot, whatever, just something to get people together, and it's a resource. But by calling and doing my call sheet too, that's how you're getting past clients. And if you're just starting and you don't have people to call, then start first with building those business partners. And then they're on your call sheet, right? And then you go to open house and you start building on your open house, because you're going to hopefully gather some information at the open houses. And then just never forgetting to stay consistent with your database. I think that's very, very important. And open houses, if you go to an open house prepared, I've gotten, people will say that open houses do not work. I disagree. Like at my presentations, I always say that I'm going to use all the tools available to me, and open houses are one of them. A lot of times my assistant and I will do open houses, work at an open house if it's available for us to do that. And we have a more chance of someone coming in if we're there than if we're not. But if you have a good script, right, like what, use a tool I just told you about today, and you're informative about that neighborhood, and someone comes in, I'm thinking at least 3 times in my career, I've left an open house and went and started showing someone else's houses, and it turned into a showing. I've gotten 2 clients in my career just from previewing homes, like when I was telling you about go preview homes before the open house. I've gotten 2 clients that way, like people are pulling flyers out, like, hey, want to come see it? Like, I have to go to this open house right now, but I'd be more than willing to show you some homes later today or tomorrow. Can I get your information? Sure, and that's turned into sales, and that's part of just being out there, you know, and not being afraid to talk to people and starting conversations with them. Like it's not hard.
Bobbie Jo online, Karen M says that she looked at your videos in anticipation of the class. Do you use a tripod, have someone recording for you? Any suggestions on equipment you like?
Well, my videos are so authentic because like 90% of them are me just holding it and like we just wing it. Like I try to walk around, find the best light wherever we're at, and then we just shoot. I did get a tripod that has the push button where I can hold it like this. That is better, but I don't always have it charged and with me. And I do have something that follows you around. I forgot its name. But I haven't figured it out yet, so I haven't used it. But my assistant on Thursdays, if you see a video ever and it has my whole body, it's my assistant taking the video and then she uploads it for me. But they're all just on my phone. I don't have the little tripod with a clicker was like $15. That thing that follows you around supposedly supposed to help me with open houses. On a Black Friday, I bought it on a whim and I still never used it, but it should help me a lot. But my point is you don't have to spend a lot of money. If you can just press the record and stop button, you got it. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
I did it. My first time ever speaking. Okay, thank you. All right, Keane. Our next speaker is Keane, and Keane is a great lender that I've used for years, but also he is a person who helped me structure some of these, the greatness tracker and has helped elevate me to the level I'm at. He is my mentor.
I'm not sure if you guys need a break. You guys need a break? Yeah,
Go
I'll
ahead.
take a quick break and then we'll get started.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good idea. How long was I speaking for?
It's 11:13.
Holy Hannah.
You did well.
I thought that you dropped others, so you needed help.
Oh,
Yours?
No, I put them there so to make sure we stayed in a certain area.
Oh, okay, can I get one more?
Yes, you could, absolutely. And I would copy this. I would like, since I would week, so I would go and make like 30 copies.
Yeah, I need practice on that.
Hi there. Hi there. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, great.
For letting me come. I'm humbled for having me come speak. My name is Keane. I am a mortgage lender and been for 20 years, also a good friend of Bobbie Jo's. A little of my background, I've been in the business for 20 years. Been a branch manager for about half that time. Some of my successes is I've been in this industry for as long and never took a break, and we've gone through some hard times during that period of time. We went through the Great Recession in 2007. And obviously, I actually think that the last couple of years were about as hard as 2007 and 8 are. So I commend everyone here for getting through some very, very tough years in the industry. They build character, and I always tell people when the pie shrinks, just cut yourself a bigger slice. And then when it grows, your percentage, you tend to keep it. And that's, you'll have your best growth following these times. So I commend everyone for working hard during these times. And I've always had my best growth during those times. So a little about my background. As a individual producer, I've done a little over 50 million in volume a year for the last 10 years. Couple good years, broke 100. Can't say that will be normal though. Those are very low interest rate years. But built a business based off of reputation, based off of service and taking care of people. And so what I'll share with you today are some things that are part of my own personal principles, but also things that have been taught to me from my coaches and my mentors. Some of the things for sure, Bobbie Jo touched on it. You'll never get there alone, you know. My best sales pitch I ever give someone is the one I have to give my wife on a regular basis, so she doesn't get mad at me, because she gets mad at me regularly. I may not be perfect today, but I'll keep getting better than I was yesterday, right? And so she always counted me to try to be a little better than I was the day before. Which is good because I started off this career screwing up a lot. I think a lot of us probably did. So, it's one of the most important principles. So first I want to talk about is Bobbie Jo talked a little about you know, how important it was to be a good person. I think it was such a great way to start a conversation because we could talk marketing tactics, sales funnels, the videos, follow-up programs, CRM, just so many things that you can focus on to grow your business. And I think that one of the most important things you have to first understand is that we have to have a product, we have to have a service that's marketable. Then worry about how to market it. You know, if we said, today we can't sell real estate anymore. Today, we're gonna go open a steakhouse in downtown Bellevue. And if I said that, what would your first thoughts be? Well, how are we gonna come up with something better than what we already have, right? There's Daniel's, there's El Gaucho, there's STK, there's so many of them. I mean, you have to come up with some kind of idea of how your atmosphere, your menu, the quality of your food, the service, what are we gonna do that's gonna make us different? I think one of the biggest mistakes that we do in our businesses is that the real estate business is so good. It's so good that you can actually kind of come into it with this kind of mediocre business plan and hope to be successful because you're getting a margin of cost of goods on a high sales price point, right? And most of us come into it just saying, man, if I could just make 100, if I just sold 8 houses a year, I could make more than I did my last job. Most of us said something like that when we first got into business, right? For us, a little bit more in doing loans, but still similar, right? I remember coming to business saying, I just have to sell this many loans to make 100,000. It's just way more than what I made before. But the problem with that is that we don't think about building a business the way that most business owners do. We wouldn't want to open a steakhouse right next to all these other ones unless we knew we were going to be better than our competition. What are we going to do that's going to be different? What recipe do we have? And what she was talking about, you know, the service that we give, taking care of people, making your clients come number one, all of these principles of what you have to provide your clients. So I'm going to first start with the 5 principles of what I believe is not just for a successful business, but I think they're the 5 principles for a successful life. The first 3 were taught to me from my mentor, and I added the last 2. So the first one is do your best with everything that you do. Sounds so simple, but that means doing it every single day. I don't believe that success is having a bunch of money, having a nice house, and a beautiful marriage, and a bunch of kids. That's not what success is to me. Those are signs that I've done things are successful. For me, success is actually doing the work. It's treating my wife with respect, being a great father to my kids, doing a great job for my clients. That's what the success is. And everything else I just mentioned are byproducts of living a successful life. And it comes with doing your best every single day. So for me, to be a 10 today, I have to work hard today. I have to be a good father today. I have to be a good husband today, right? So if I'm really tired and I come home and I see that she's tired, I'm going to rub her feet today, right? Because that's what makes her feel loved. So I really believe that we have to always do our best, whatever you're doing. The second thing is do the right thing. Somewhere inside, you have this kind of measuring tool of what you think is the right thing to do. And we get tested on a regular basis of what we think is right and wrong. And it's sometimes it's easy to fall into doing something that you say, hey, I should do this, but I won't because of blank. And I would say, try to take the high road every single time. Every single time. The third one, my coach taught me this, I was confused by it. Show people you care. I thought that was really odd because I thought, shouldn't you just care? Like, what does it mean to show people that you care? And then one day it kind of dawned on me. Sometimes we do care and we don't actually show it. And then people don't know it. They need to feel what you actually feel. You have to say what you actually feel. I'll give you an example. I would challenge almost everyone that's listening that if you actually told people how you really felt when you were doing a sales presentation, you would close almost every one of your clients. It might sound something like this. I really appreciate the opportunity for you to show me your home. I just appreciate the chance you're even interviewing me for the job to consider listing your home. I know that you have many options. Maybe you'll choose me, maybe you don't. But I promise that if you did hire me, I will prove to you every single day that you chose the right person. I will prove it with every day how hard I worked. And I promise if there's anything I didn't do right, if you told me, I will fix it. But I promise if you choose me, you won't regret it. Isn't that how you feel when you go to that listing presentation? How many people say that? If you did say that, what do you think most people would say? That's what it means to show people that you care. You actually have to say what you really feel. But it takes practice because sometimes your voice might crack because you get a little emo about it, but it's real. What I just said isn't made up. When I'm sitting with the client, that's how I really feel. And just having enough courage to show it is probably the number one thing you could do to get more sales with that client. It's not these marketing tactics and great flyers. And look, the silent sellers is great. That's part of making sure your product is what you want your clients to have. That's part of proving that they hired the right person. But you know, when people ask, how do you close? I think the best way to close is just to speak from your heart and be a little bit real. Does it make sense? I mentioned it earlier, get better every single day. You know, I have a very simple business plan. If I was the borrower, what would I want my lender to look like? If I was a buyer or seller, what would I want my agent to look like? And every single year I do my job and I get a little bit better, my standard goes up. So every year I have to ask myself that same question. Now, who would I hire, knowing what I know with another year of experience? And you never obtain that thing. You never become that person. You're always chasing that ideal, but that ideal will grow as you grow. And I think that's important, that growth and getting better is part of your life. And the last one is leave things better than you found them. Things can be people. It can be places. It can be simple as turning off the light switch when you leave a room. Or it's gross. I don't know if women, if you understand how gross a men's bathroom can be, but picking up garbage on a men's bathroom, I do it usually with another piece of paper, but leave things better than you found them. It could be as small as that. It could be bigger as making an impact in someone's life today, making their life better. And on a bigger scale, maybe this world was a little bit better that you lived in it than if you didn't. But I'm just a big believer that you leave things better than you find them. Okay. So those are my 5 principles of success. I think that they translate into business, but they also should translate into all parts of your life. Now, one of the other things I really believe when you meet with your client, you should try to focus on is we talked about is your close, but it's not the close you're probably thinking. Close 100%. And what do I mean by that? How many of you close 100% of your leads? Right? Now, I will tell you, if you ask how many times did I get a lead or referral and it became a closed transaction, it's not 100. It's not even close. Okay. We have turn downs and, you know, in-house lender from a builder, whatever, right? But what I do know is this. Every person I meet, I have the opportunity to leave them better than I found them. In whatever path that they are on, can I be a person of value that the meeting they had with me, they would say, you know, I might not use Keane right now for this, but I'm really glad I met him. He really helped me with this. Even if I get a rate shopper, I'll say, you know what? It's really good that you work so hard that you qualify this well for a product, and that in a market like this, you have time to ask for longer closes or extensions in case the lender does take longer, right? From my experience, if you haven't shopped at maybe these 2 or 3 places, you might still be leaving some money on the table. I'd help them. People think it's odd, but I'm a big believer that in most businesses, there are times where people are very transactional and margin-based, and sometimes they need an expert. And sometimes the same person might look for something transactional at one time, and then they'll look for something of higher value the other time. And sometimes we get offended if we get put in this category, but we all do it. How many of you shop at Costco? How many of you ever paid a lot of money for medical care? Have any of you ever also just paid for a flu shot? Right? That's my point. It's like, do you need to go to the Mayo Clinic to get a flu shot? No. And I understand that sometimes for my clients, they might be at that moment a flu shot client, and they might want a little cheaper price. I'm okay with that. As long as when they really need that higher level healthcare, they're going to come see me. What I want is 100% of every appointment, every phone call I ever have, every person I meet to leave that meeting feeling like they are glad they have met me, that they got something of value, which is what I would hope you guys would get talking to me today, right? Try to close 100%. Those are a mixture of things were taught to me, but also that last one was a big one that was just mine. You know, I kind of adopted that after the 2007, 2008 subprime meltdown. I really felt like that was missing in our industry, and it really was the foundation for how I built my business. All right, let's talk a little bit about if this is your recipe, and so one of the things I want you to understand about business is we talked about like, if we wanted to open a steakhouse, what would we do, right? The reason why I say that is because what I just exemplified earlier is if you could be that high-level expert that people can trust, that's building your brand, that's building your recipe, that's having a better steak than Daniel's, right? That's how you have something that's worth selling. I think that sometimes we think about marketing and sales, and you want to start with something that is worth selling. So first, make the recipe great. And for me, make that recipe great is what you give to people on a regular basis in terms of your advice, your service, and your follow-up. There's only a few things people are looking for when they're looking for an expert. They want someone that's knowledgeable. They want someone who can deliver on that knowledge and has the bedside manner and heart to want to do what's best for you. It's those three things. They want someone who's like, I'll give you an example. If I needed a brain surgery, no one might want me to survive more than my wife. If you gave her the scalpel, I'll probably die. She'll try her best. She's going to care, but she's not an expert in that field, right? But it doesn't just take one or the other. It really takes all of them. You want to be an expert. You want to be the best at delivering it. And then you want to show that with all that knowledge and all that expertise and all that ability to deliver, you are also the one who cares the most with it. If you need a heart surgery and Dr. Oz was your dad, would you feel pretty good about your odds of surviving that surgery? You would. And that's what you need to be for your clients. But once you've created that business, it first starts with what product and service am I creating and selling? And then we have to worry about how we're going to get them to know about it. Because if you're not careful, you might end up being that really cute Italian restaurant in a tiny neighborhood that no one knows about that has the best lasagna in the world, right? First, let's make sure we have the best lasagna, because opening a new restaurant with terrible recipes is not a good strategy. But also, it's not the best strategy to be a little bit unknown either. We need to know how to get the word out. Now, there's only three things, if we're going to talk just profit, not that it's only about profit, but if we're talking about how to grow profit in business, there's only three things that change the profit of a business. Does anyone know what they are?
Volume, profit margin.
Okay, hit on
The
them.
third one. I don't know.
So volume comes from volume is the sum of two things, which is what? To have higher volume, you're gonna need to do what?
Higher price, more units.
More units. God, I wish I had some candy bars for you guys. I have not asked that question to a new crowd to have them answer right out of the gate. Good job, guys. So there's three things: more sales, higher price sales, better margin. Only three ways to increase your profit. If I do nothing different other than increase the amount of closings I do per year, then if the average sales price and my average margin doesn't change, I still make a bigger profit. Or if I do everything the same as I did before, but I am closing higher price transactions, so my margins of my expenses and the amount that I charge hasn't changed, but my average sales price has gone up, I will also make more money. Or if your commission split you charge goes up, if the expenses for your business are reduced, right? Then those can improve your profit margins. These are the three. Okay, sounds simple, but I would challenge that the business part of your mind has to say every single year, if you can find a way to increase all of them just a little bit, your business will grow substantially. We have a tendency to get too hyper-focused on one or two of these. Some people will be like, higher price point, higher price point, higher price point. But in that process, they may reduce unit of sales or not improve their margins. What I would challenge you is always try to see if you can find a way to improve all of them a little bit. Now, I'm not a real estate agent. I am a real estate investor. So I do a lot in your guys' space in terms of like buying and selling real estate, but as an owner, right? But I will focus more on trying to teach you this one. It's the hardest one, in my opinion. Well, I shouldn't say that. The higher priced ones, at a certain point, get really hard for you guys, I think. But if you're trying to increase your price point a little bit, you could just try to increase a little bit of your prospecting in neighborhoods where you can have higher price points. If you're not trying to drastically change your price point, if you're trying to get to this like ultra luxury market, it seems like maybe outside looking in, it seems like a pretty tough gate for you guys. But this is the one I think I can help you guys with the most. The reason why is because if you guys haven't figured it out, you guys make bigger commissions than mortgage lenders do. We make bigger commissions than title reps do. But did you know that successful title reps make $300,000 to $500,000 a year? Did anyone know that? Some of you guys like, you guys gotta get me better bagels and donuts to get making that kind of money, right? So think about why. Why do you think a title rep can make $300,000 to $500,000 a year selling title and escrow services are a fraction of the cost of what you guys make and what we make?
More sales.
More sales. So how did they get more sales?
Talking to more people.
Having more classes.
They can talk to more people. Although I would challenge that you guys have just as much bandwidth to talk to as many people as them. Our job is to have conversations.
Consistency, like, are consistently in your space.
The good ones can be, but that kind of translates to all the jobs, right?
Okay.
So what is it that they really do? How many of your customers do they talk to?
Many.
You're a direct client.
None.
0.
0.
So who are they talking to? Partners. Oh, people who can refer. So there's a couple different ways that you can grow your sales where you can get more units. So take it from the person who's already doing this, okay? You're gonna leverage your sales. So, Bobbie Joe was answering some questions earlier about like time management, right? I remember you guys were talking a little bit about that. And in a perfect world, we are structured and balanced with our time so we can spend more time doing the thing that makes a bigger difference in our business, which is connecting with more clients and getting more sales. Then one of the biggest mistakes people make about our business is they think that we're going to start with leads. Some of those leads will turn into deals, and some of those deals will end up being lifetime clients. That's what they think the sales funnel looks like. That's not true. Otherwise, if it were true, we'd all be buying internet leads, right? So why does the internet lead business have a ceiling to it? Why is there a higher ceiling on a referral-based business?
Referrals are more likely to go further down the process with you.
Yeah, there's a conversion rate. That's part of it, right? But there's also a leverage of the time conversion of what we're doing, okay? People that you're in relationship with are a higher percentage to turn into a sale. So when they come back again and again and refer. So the first goal is to try to shift and have a balanced scheduled, what we call green time, which is like your prospecting time. But one of the things I want you guys to understand is there's different shades of green. Really light green would be like cold calling people that you don't know who only could be a one-off deal. Now, Mike Ferry says this works. And it does work. And I think that part of the reason why it works is because you guys do get big commissions. But there's a ceiling. So who am I cold calling then? Cold calling you guys. Why is that a darker green? Because if you work with me, you'll send me multiple deals. Now picture this. What if the only 5 clients I gave you this year were all builders who all sell 20 to 50 homes a year? That's not that many clients. What would that do to your business? It would blow up your business, right? So to get darker green prospecting, you need accounts. Or we call them VIPs for you realtors. This is the key to growing your business on a higher scale, is getting more accounts. Now, another way you get darker shades of green is that you can do leveraged events. Bobbie Joe's starting to do some of those, right? You only have so many hours in the day. I'm talking to a group of you guys. y'all can refer multiple people, darker green. But follow-up and one-on-one relationships with these people are essential. I've had a lot of realtors say, oh, I went to chamber events, I did it for like a year, I got nothing out of it. Well, did you ever meet people more than outside of those events? Right? The goal of going to the events is to get to meet people, and then outside of the events, one-on-one, then build a relationship and then follow up. The sales funnel process of a B2B business requires that you are responsible for the relationship. Okay? It's kind of like business dating. If you keep going to the same bar and I keep seeing the same cute girls and I finally get to know their name, but I never ask them for the number, this is not going to go anywhere. Right? There's got to be some coffees and lunches mixed in there, right? But I'm just talking business though, right? But at the same time, when you expect someone to refer you when they only know you from service and event, right? That's like going to the bar and being like, why doesn't anyone want to introduce me to their parents? You're like, too soon, right? I don't know you that well. I'm not willing to let you meet, like, if you're on a dance floor, you're not like, hey, it's good to meet you. How many kids do you want to have when you get married? Like, whoa, chill out, right? Just buy me a drink, right? That is that process. Although I use that as a joke, but at the same time, the more important it is, the thing that you're trying to sell, the more times you have to go through a sales process before you close the person, right? So does anyone know what the 5 steps of a sales process is? No. Intro. You build rapport. Needs analysis. Close. Follow up. How many of you ever did a sales job that wasn't in real estate before you got in real estate? Any of you guys work retail? Did you notice that in retail that you can go through the cycle one time and end up at the register? And that's one of the first things I actually tell people when they first come from retail. Just remember, you're gonna have to do this multiple times before they buy from you in real estate. If you meet someone in an open house, the same thing can happen. It's like, you don't want to be the weird person, right? So, hey, you like the house? Do you want to write it up? I can make the offer for you. Whoa, too fast, too soon, right? You want to close to the next stage. So closing to the next stage is, welcome to our beautiful house. If you have any questions, I can answer for you. I'm going to check up on you in a little bit to see if you have any questions and also give you some information about the house. You're kind of setting it up, right? You're setting it up. So the close is you introduce, you build a little rapport. You're going to find out your needs analysis later on, and you're going to close them. You're going to come talk to them later, and make sure you go do the follow up later. And every time you talk to them again, you're going to put them through that process again. Hey, I know that you have lots of options for buying and selling real estate, but I'd love to interview for the job and buy you guys coffee. Right? Which, by the way, that's probably my favorite sales close. I don't ask for the business. I ask for the job. It's a subliminal thing that happens in the client's head when you're applying for a job. Because when you're saying, I would love to interview for the job, what are you saying? You have the right to say no. If you hire me, you have the power to fire me. And once you do hire me, I have to earn it. Otherwise, I could be fired. And somehow, in fractions of a second, it doesn't seem as pushy when it comes across that way. So, that's it. But these 5 sales processes happen both in business to client and business to business. So your job when you meet people and you want to get referrals from them is, I'm going to meet this person, I'm going to build rapport with a potential business partner, find a need in their business, close them on mutual benefit, and follow up in the relationship so we can keep working together. And at what point, if you do this well enough, meet them in a group setting, do it on a one-on-one, then the follow-up after that doesn't always have to be as one-on-one afterwards. You still have them here and there, right? One-on-one phone call once a month, right? I asked if you guys could get copies of a form that we use in a core called an accounts pyramid. Sorry for the people on Zoom, but we can email them. It looks like this. Bobbie Jo was talking about your greatness tracker. This is daily prospecting, people you talk to, and you have goals of how many people you talk to on a regular basis. These are people that have the potential of referring you multiple deals a year. It could be your accountant, it could be your lender, it could be multiple lenders, it could be a builder, right? It could be all those things. It could be an investor who buys multiple pieces of real estate. But you build this list. The bottom line represents people that you've met that have the potential of referring you people. Once they start referring you people, they move up from that line to the next category. The top two categories are people that, the second to the top category is people who close, who refer you at least 4+ people a year that will close. And then at the very top are what we call channel accounts, 1+ closing a month, 12+ a year. These ones are hard. To get someone who's going to send you 12+ closings a year means that it's usually a person that needs your services. So the hard close, like a builder who's going to sell more than 12 houses a year, right? Or, you know, if it's an REO asset manager would fit in that category in the old days, but in today's world, probably more builders. But some people get hyper focused on trying to get people in this category. I wouldn't worry about that, because I can tell you the people who end up in that top category are usually not who you think they would be. People will surprise you. Just meet people, find mutual benefit, and build rapport. You guys want to see a basic marketing plan that you would do with business partners? Yeah, it's soft a little bit. This is how we do it, by the way. If you guys haven't figured it out, this is how lenders make money. If you ever hear that your lenders are making more money than you, it's only because they're doing this. If you learn this, you'll crush us. That's just the truth. I was telling Bobbie Jo, another friend of mine, his name's John Bai. I brought him into the core over 10 years ago.
John Eresca, John Bai?
He was not a core student before I met him. I brought him into the coaching program. I think it was around April or May of last year. He had a $400,000 GCI month. Right? It's proof that if you do this, you guys should prove that you can do it better than we can and the title reps can. If you can do it even 25 to 30% as good as a really good title rep will, you'll crush it. So usually what I'll do is you want to meet people first. So you're going to do your intro, right? And that should drive, and the close is to get a one-on-one. Don't make too many assumptions on what someone's going to do for you based off of what you think they can do. That's one of the biggest mistakes. If they're a business person of any type, especially, you know, Bobbie Jo talked a little bit about like handyman and stuff like that. They can be VIPs, right? But what I would challenge you is try to get more people who, when people come to them, they come to them as an authority of some type. I really trust this person as an advisor to me. Tax preparer, an attorney, financial advisor, right? People that have influence in these people's lives. Does it make sense? Try to build your list more with people like that, because people listen to them. If you have not gotten a referral from your tax preparer or from an attorney or a financial advisor, you're missing out. You know how that referral usually goes? So-and-so says, I need to work with you because you're the best and I do everything this person says, so you're going to be my person. That's pretty much how that goes. You have to sell them on why you're the wrong person at that point, because they're coming in pre-positioned and pre-sold. Okay? When you meet them on a one-on-one, what you want to do is you want to learn about their business. You're going to be interested, and you're going to try to come up with a needs analysis. Tell me about your business. Let's say that you're a financial advisor. Tell me about who your clients are. Tell me about what their average profile looks like. Tell me about who gives them advice about real estate. You find out everything you can, and then try to find how you can add a value in that business. Which, by the way, if you haven't figured it out, most of these people represent a job that your clients would benefit from. So if you come into it only expecting referrals, you're looking for the top producer. No, you're looking for the person that your people would trust, that you would trust. You would trust to hand them to this person and say, this is the person you should be talking to, right? which also helps close the circle on what the benefit could be. I work with lots of clients, and the beginning process for them to really think about the time to financially plan for their future comes when they are acquiring assets and taking on liabilities that maybe their state couldn't pay. And so I need a good financial advisor to help my clients with that situation. Most people think that you get a financial advisor when you have millions in assets. No, let's just start with, if we have a household where it doesn't work, if this person's income goes away, or I couldn't pay this mortgage, if this person wasn't helping me do it anymore, we'd have a problem. You need an advisor. That's when people need it. How many of us are having that conversation with our clients the first time? I'm gonna make sure that not only I'm gonna help you find a home of your dreams, but that we're gonna get you the right team to make sure you're taken care of for life. Does that make sense? So you're gonna meet with them one-on-one, you're gonna find a benefit that's gonna help you both through your businesses. And then you wanna do the close. I would love to work closer with you and share our mutual clients for the benefit of what my service can do for your clients and vice versa. Wouldn't it be great if we work together, share clients, and grow together, giving great service to our clients in our respective industries? You're gonna find it's actually not hard to do this close. The hardest part is gonna be in the follow-up, right? This is where most agents struggle with it. This is where you have to copy us. If you don't hear from your title rep for a while, when do you hear from them? Show up with donuts. So in your month, you should pre-plan a marketing strategy that has phone calls, which I usually say you should do on a Monday morning, right? To your business partners. You should do a monthly milk run. Does anyone know what a milk run is?
No. Dropping off the donuts, dropping off something, having a present.
Yeah. Draw a little map, like you're the milkman, right? And I'll teach you guys a secret. If you can, it's hard to deliver, but if you do it, I promise you'll knock it out of the park. Bring warm cookies. I know it sounds weird, but it works. I promise you it works. I know it's hard to keep them warm, but they sell those pizza oven bags that keep things warm. I mean, they have them now, right? Uber Eats and all that stuff. You know, bake cookies or buy them fresh at Subway and put them in those bags that keep them warm and deliver them fresh. Because people remember things from not just how they look and taste, but how they smell. I had a title rep for the first 5 years I was in this business. He would come every single Tuesday with a plate of cookies. I remember the first time we saw a different title rep in the office. I didn't even know that there was options for different people. And I'm like, oh, who's this gal that's coming on all of a sudden trying to, oh, that's the person who's trying to sell the same thing that Mike does. Oh, you mean our cookie person? Get her out of here. We got our guy. That's all he ever did was brought cookies. But I'm telling you, it works. Donuts could be fine, but I'm just telling you, cookies work great, especially if they're warm. In fact, if you do it consistently enough, they'll get mad when you don't show up.
Bring cookies to whom? To my clients?
To your business VIPs.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll also give you guys some examples of, I mentioned some earlier, financial advisors, your tax preparer, estate planning attorneys, other lenders. Bobbie Jo was shocked to hear that from me and say, hey, you need to start networking with other lenders. And she's like, what? You're my lender. I'm like, look, I don't have a doctor program like KeyBank. They have walk-in clients, right? You should be working with a KeyBank person, even if it's only your doctors. If you said to a KeyBank person, hey, every time I get a doctor, I'm going to bring them to you for a doctor dentist program, they're going to send you everybody that they pre-approve. Because most of the time when they talk to a realtor, the realtor is trying to yank them out of their hands and take them to another lender, right? I'm not saying that their service is good enough, you send them all of your leads, they'll probably blow up your business because they're not that great at delivering. But if they have a product that just knocks it out of the park, send them that client and align with them, right? Site agents for national builders are another good one. So if you are a DR Horton agent, you can't list someone's other house. So who are they sending the listings to? Right?
I didn't know that.
Yep. If you're a DR Horton site agent and they need to sell their house to buy your new construction, you can't list it.
Not even family members.
Yeah, they can't. They're not allowed to. They're only allowed to sell their product, period. Right? So are you going to be that person? Right? So milk runs. So usually call everyone at least once a month. You do a milk run once a month. Have a happy hour once a month. Invite them to events. And then email them weekly. That's it. You can also put them on your social media just so they can stay in front of you. But this is basically the marketing plan.
That's it.
This is what it takes. Once you get to know them, and what does the phone call sound like? You're in a business relationship with them. You don't have to come up with something weird, right? It's, hey, by the way, don't forget, happy hour's coming up. I've been looking for someone to work with you in the last couple weeks. I haven't found anyone, but I'm going to keep looking. So if you tell them the intention of getting them a client, even if you don't, that still has value because you're telling them, I'm going to keep you top of mind to get you a client, right? But as soon as you say that, what can you ask right behind it? If you know anyone in real estate, I'd love to help them, right? There's an emotional bank account to this process. You can't just take. You got to give, and then you can take. Perfect. Does it make sense? By the way, do you want to know the easiest way to ask for a referral? I talked earlier about how you should be the person you would want to hire for your own business, right? Be the agent you would hire for yourself. So that means delivering more than expected. When you deliver more than expected, can you imagine how these phone calls go or meetings when I meet with a person and I say, hey, I don't think you should do a loan right now. This is what I think you should do. Like, I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with a person the other day who was like, hey, I'm commuting 2.5 hours every single day. I live in Puyallup, I work in Issaquah. I'm like, that's a terrible drive. Wife's not working full time, her family's in Puyallup. So he's been trying to talk her into selling and then buying in Issaquah. She's finally caving in the conversation, but now he's worried about being able to afford it. So I'm a mortgage person, so I ask about how much money he makes. I want to find out if he can really afford it because it's quite a bit move up, price point and with the higher rates, right? He's like, I don't know if this coverage is going to go very far because I really am committed to moving and I can't make the numbers work. So I worked the numbers for him and he's absolutely right. He can't budget it, but he can't keep doing this forever. He's like, I don't want to spend 5 hours a day commuting. And he's worried that if he rents a place near Issaquah and he sells this place in Puyallup, that he's out of the housing game now, and now he can't get back in because it's going to keep going up. These are all very real fears, right? You guys are all probably agreeing with me, like, well, what is this guy going to do? Well, I also happen to be a landlord, and I have some rentals in the east side, and surprisingly, rent rates in the east side suck. How many of you guys know that? Price points higher than Seattle, rents are lower, right? I'm like, do you realize that renting a place big enough for your family is only about $1,000 more than what you're paying in mortgage? Well, yes, but I don't want to be out of the housing game. Well, be a landlord. My advice to him was, when rates drop, maybe you can do the trade. But giving up 5 hours of your day for the next 1, 2, 4, 5 years, not knowing how long it's going to take, is not a realistic goal. You're going to break. And I know you're afraid of being a landlord, but I would highly recommend you consider renting your old place, taking up positive cash flow, and covering that difference in your rent on the east side, because surprisingly, the rents in the east side aren't that high. He's like, oh yeah, I can go to Kent. I'm like, no, screw Kent. It's only $600 more to get into Issaquah. You save another 45 minutes. He's like, really? There's no way. He looks it up. He's like, you're right. I had no idea. I just assumed it was going to be way more because the cost of buying was going to be way more. I'm like, no, surprisingly, it's pretty affordable. So my advice for you is, I give you some recommendations of a good property manager if you're too afraid to try, but rent out your old place and move into a rental yourself. And then we'll just track how the market goes with rates and maybe you can do the trade later. So my close was that he would do the trade later, right? When you give that kind of advice, when you do that, I'm going to close 100% of my phone calls. What usually comes at the end of that conversation? Thank you so much. Very often I get the, what do I owe you? That's a good sign. When they say, what do I owe you? They're saying, what you gave me was worth money. That's when you ask. If it feels pushy to ask, that means you haven't done your job. When you do your job right, they're basically begging you. In fact, very often the response I get is, that's it? That's all you want? They expect me to send them a bill. I'm like, no, just, I don't do billboards. I don't do radio ads. Just anytime you know someone who might need the advice I gave you today, I would love to help them. That's how you ask. That's how you build a referral-based business. Any questions on anything we covered? No? Any questions on mine?
Nope.
Okay. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys.
Very much.
Good.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Kelly. All right, this is Kelly. He is my CPA and he has some stuff to share with us.
Yeah,
Thank you, Kelly.
all right.
They're gonna be changing over the slides.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's gonna be hard to, the Keane over here, that was, I mean, I learned from that, and I'm not a real estate agent, so. That was super valuable. So do I just go whenever or?
Yeah,
recording
ready to go.
start, or- Okay, my name is Kelly, I'm a CPA, I'm based in Leschi in Seattle over here. Contact information is up here, if you guys wanna talk to me more, we can go back to this slide, but why don't we get right to it? So can we go to the next page here? Yeah, so I wanted to talk about some of the tax strategies within real estate. You know, I don't expect real estate agents to be an expert when it comes to tax stuff, but I think it's good for them to know at least some of the basics so they can know that some strategies are out there. And then when they're, you know, you're helping someone do the biggest transaction in their life potentially. And it's good to know some of the consequences of that, or at least get a professional on the phone who can help you walk them through that. So I think you can make the real estate agent look great if you can loop someone like a tax professional on the phone and then go through some of those strategies. I'll go through an example of some of the things that we can do, but so I mean, just some basic stuff right off the bat. I think most people know this, but easy deductions, I have like the green circle from like a ski slope. So mortgage interest on a personal residence, you can deduct your mortgage interest, but it's only on the first 750,000 in principal balance. So if they have a $1.5 million mortgage, they can only deduct half of that mortgage interest. And then property taxes as well, but that's capped at $10,000. And so those two things added up have to exceed your standard deduction. So I think a lot of people think that there's a lot more tax benefits to home ownership than there actually is. It's actually pretty limited, but that's why we're gonna get into some of the other stuff. So can we go to the next page here? So intermediate deductions, depreciation on a rental property. Keane brought this up, rental properties. Rental properties are great from a tax perspective. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because of depreciation expense. So the way that this works is, imagine you buy a rental property for $1 million. Let's assume 800 of that, 1 million, we're gonna basically allocate that to the building, and the remaining 200,000 will be land. This is just kind of an approximate, it could be different depending on the property. And so basically that 800,000 that's allocated to the building, you can take depreciation expense on that. So what does that mean? You can literally take that number, 800,000, you divide it by 27.5, that's about 30 grand. And you can take that as a taxable expense each year while you own the property, right? And so most properties actually appreciate, but you can actually take depreciation as an expense. And so this is why a lot of rental properties, especially on the east side, are operating at a tax loss, even though, you know, they might own it free and clear and be making cash flow on it, they might not pay any taxes on it. So can we go to the next slide here? So some of the more advanced tax strategies is, this one's really big. Whenever I tell this to real estate agents, I think they're kind of shocked by this. But basically, cost segregation study on a rental property. So if we go back to that old example of the $1 million property where we had $800,000 for the building and $200,000 for the land, we can further break down that 800,000 into more specific categories. And so the way that this works is we hire an engineer to come out to the property. They're gonna say, hey, 300 of that 800, we're gonna allocate to 5-year property. 100,000 going to 15-year property, and then 400,000 going to 39-year property. That might not make any sense to you, but they're basically just saying we're allocating certain portions of that to different types of property for different tax classifications. And the reason why this is important is because we can take that 5 and 15-year property, and that's eligible for what's called bonus depreciation. So that's 300,000 for the 5-year, plus 100,000 for the 15-year, 400,000 multiplied by 60%, because 2024, we can take 60% bonus depreciation. That's a $240,000 write-off in year 1, against your other income from purchasing a rental property. So this is true even if you put no money down on the rental. So you could basically finance it 100% and still use this strategy. But there's some limitations to this. So can we go to the next slide here? So for most people, including myself, I can't take advantage of this strategy. The reason for that is because I'm not considered a real estate professional. So I get hit with passive loss limitations. So passive loss rules, I wrote that up here. The 240K write-off we mentioned earlier is considered a passive loss if I were to do the strategy because I'm not a real estate professional. And so I can't deduct that against my W-2 and business income, right? So I need to have other passive income for that to even help me. However, real estate professionals, when they invest in real estate, their losses are not considered passive and can be deducted against their W-2 or business income. So can we go to the next page here? So what is a real estate professional? So once again, real estate professionals, real estate agents, investors, and so forth are the people who can take advantage of this strategy. They must spend at least 750 hours annually focusing on real estate, whether you're investing in it, managing property, being an agent, and you must spend more than half of your working time on real estate. So if you had a full-time job in tech where you spend most of your working time, you would not qualify, even if you met the 750 hours in real estate. So I'm a CPA, I do taxes, I don't qualify, but most real estate agents and many of your clients who are investors would qualify for this. So I put that down there, and then can we go to the next page? And then another thing to know when it comes to buying and selling properties is the homeowner's exclusion. So a lot of people think that this is pretty simple, but there's some more advanced strategies you can mix in with this. So if you own and live in a property for 2 out of the last 5 years, you can exclude 250,000 of the gain on sale. Meaning, if you lived in that property and owned it for 2 of those last 5 years, you sell it at $1 million gain, you're only going to report 750,000 on your taxes. If you're married, you can exclude up to 500,000 of that gain. So if people are thinking about getting married in December, and maybe doing it in January, tell them to maybe accelerate it into December so they can take advantage of the extra 250,000. And so they can do this every 2 years. And that really helps with liquidity in the housing market so people can move and live and then move again without incurring a bunch of tax. And so here's a really interesting thing. So if you rent the property or use it for business, that gain cannot be excluded, right? It has to be a personal residence. But if you rent it after the time you lived in it, then you can still do this. So for example, if you live in a property for 2 or more years, and then you rent it for no more than 3 years, in this case, you can still take advantage of the full homeowner's exclusion. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff where, like, if you can get a tax person on the phone to help you strategize with your client, they can realize that they can save a bunch of money, and it makes you look great for making the introduction, right? Go to the next page here. 1031 exchange. I think a lot of people should know the basics of how this works, especially in the real estate world. So this is a like-kind exchange. It allows you to defer capital gains indefinitely. So the way it works is if your client has a rental property and they sell it and reinvest into another rental property, they can use what's called a 1031 exchange to defer the gain. Now, this can be done over and over forever. And then so what a lot of people do to never pay tax in real estate is they take that depreciation we mentioned earlier. So they never pay tax on the rental income. And then when they sell the property, they do a 1031 exchange into another rental property, and then they ultimately pass it through their estate when they die, and then they get a step-up in basis. So there's never any tax whatsoever, potentially. And so another thing that I thought was really interesting, and I helped a client with this the other day, is a real estate agent on the phone with their client. They were basically wanting to sell their home. They're like, should we rent it? What should we do with it? How can we not pay any taxes on the sale? You can even convert a personal residence to a rental, take advantage of the 500K homeowner's exclusion. So we talked about that earlier, and defer the remaining gain through the 1031 exchange. But what's even better about that is you can pull up to 500 in cash, which is called boot, out of the deal tax-free when you take advantage of the homeowner's exclusion with a property that's being rented. So I think that's it. Is that, go to the next page?
That's the last slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, that's probably really fast and a lot of information all at once, but I think it's good for real estate agents to know some of this because I think a lot of them don't understand how much this can impact their own investment decisions as well as their clients. So
Just a couple of
Yeah.
questions. Do you operate as a 1031 facilitator or do they have to hire that out still?
I don't do that personally. I'll advise on the tax stuff and then do the filings, but yeah, I'd have to refer for that. Yeah.
I can make a comment to what he's saying on two things. One, I do this, as you probably can guess, I mentioned all those
Yes.
properties. I'm not a real estate professional. But my wife is basically operates as a 100% investor. And we have a property management company that only is for our properties and she manages that. So we qualify for the same thing. And I use that to offset my W-2 income. So if any of you guys are married to your spouse has a W-2 income, if you're filing it jointly, then that can help offset that income. It's a pretty big hack.
That's a great point because, I mean, the only clients, so a lot of people are like, you know, I saw something on the internet and I don't want to pay any taxes. And I'm like, okay, in my experience, the only people I've seen who pay no taxes are people who can qualify as real estate professionals. They do this exact strategy and they use it to offset against their business income. And they can even be done when it's like, oh, my spouse is a real estate agent or my spouse manages all the investments and they're 100% in that game. So, yeah.
The other thing is that the interest deduction you talked about earlier is something that the current new homeowners, when they're buying, are not calculating into their expenses. I mean, the tax rules changed in 2016, so itemized deductions aren't as aggressive as they used to be. So between the 2016 change in standard deduction plus how low everyone was refinancing their loans, everyone forgot there's an itemized deduction. But anybody who's buying a decent price home now in Keane County or wherever, you know, takes on a mortgage of 600,000, is taking a rate of 6-7%, they're gonna have itemized deductions, even with the limitations they've mentioned, because the rates are higher. So people are taking this like, oh, my payment's so cheap, my payment's gonna be so much more, and they're not taking that calculation into their savings. And of course, we're not qualified to have the conversation, so having a person do that for you is really valuable, but they're not coming into it. It's not gonna be as expensive as they think it is. They're gonna save money. If they're taking on a $600,000 mortgage with a higher interest rate, there's gonna be deduction savings. And none of them are taking that into consideration when they're doing their budget on their move.
Totally, yeah, because like you can look at your monthly expense for buying versus your monthly expense for renting. But once you take it into account after tax, the buying might actually be cheaper.
The key is that that conversation's only been relevant in the last year and a half.
Yeah,
And so if you haven't changed that conversation with their clients, it shouldn't be happening now, because they're paying it. The
Yeah.
deductions are there,
Yeah.
but they forgot about it because the deductions went away. When everyone had a $300,000-400,000 mortgage at 2-3%, and the tax rules changed, they didn't get it anymore.
Yeah.
So they forgot that it even exists.
totally. Yeah, so anyone have any questions about any of that? Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that, thank you for that. I'm actually, my first career, I was a CPA.
Oh,
So
great,
I
yeah.
understand, and we use that.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to add that for us, it's good to also keep a schedule, because when they talk about those hours, if ever you
Yes.
get audited,
Yes.
then when Bobbie Joe talks about keeping a schedule, you can refer to your schedule as something to support that you're actually a full-time real estate agent.
Yes,
Even if you don't
absolutely.
make that much money,
Yes.
you have something already in place, like calendars don't lie, like.
Yeah, tracking the time
Tracking
is
the time.
absolutely, yeah, that's a good point.
Good point.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have an affordable person to do cost saves?
I have a couple different people I know who do it, but I probably want to ask them about pricing because I'm not really sure where they charge on that.
Because I've had a hard time finding people who, I've heard that there's some people willing to do it more affordably for like single family type product. But it's more common that people pay thousands of dollars for like a big multifamily.
I have a client, they do this every year, and they're actually a real estate agent brokerage firm. They make about 500,000 a year. And they buy like a handful of properties in Arizona every year and have been able to offset their income every year and pay literally no taxes. But they definitely are working with someone, so I might want to ask them.
Yeah.
Because they do it like 3-4 times a year every year.
All my stuff is like single family.
Yeah, that's what they do as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're great.
Thanks for being here to hold my hand.
Yeah.
For public talk.